that would be great because, you know, it's always like, oh no.
You're gonna be so jealous.
You're doing a close-up of this.
All right. Those of you that are, let me find out, I gotta find out this, very important. Those of you that are smiling, raise your hand. I just want to find out. All right, not everybody. Okay, if you're happy, say, oh yeah. Let me try, let's do it again, all right? Oh yeah. All right, good. Okay, we had an exciting day today, folks. And the time that I get to spend with you here, I'm really thankful for it at this time. And I really want to say that it's really a pleasure to be back here and to see all of you. I had a great occasion to be here, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and since that time in the interim, I've been able to make better acquaintance with many of you. It's been really, really delightful. You know, we did that feast video a couple of months ago, and I think many of you have probably seen that. In that feast video, I was relaying a little bit about how I, years ago, and even up to now, I still enjoy doing that, is the Indian people have a practice of fasting, which is very, very beautiful. And but it's very strenuous, and especially if the weather takes a certain turn. And invariably, every time I would go out fasting, Indian style fasting, the weather would invariably get up at points over 105 degrees. And I didn't mention this, but the last time that I went out for 4 days fasting, it was got up to 108 degrees, I believe, on the last day. Of course, there's no food and no water. And you know, I always, like when I first started to go out fasting, you know, of course, I, as many of you, have been socialized in part through the media, you know, radio, television, the different images that we receive. And you're very lucky to have an individual here, Mr. Phil Lucas, who is very instrumental in disclosing and really shedding light on some of the effects of that process. But in that process, I was really, you know, really excited about the going out fasting. I always thought of, you know, like a vision. You know, I used to watch a lot of Walt Disney movies. So I always thought, you know, the vision would be like kind of like, you know, you'd see like the heavens would just be cleft asunder. There'd be trumpets blaring, and the staircase would come down, you know, and there'd be like thundering herds of bison coming. There'd be eagles coming out of the heavens, you know, just beautiful streaks of light flowing. And I always thought it'd even be like smoke, where it'd be strobe and laser effect. And really, only thing that ever came to me were vultures. In all honesty, that's really true. It is really true. Vultures. And I remember, for instance, like I was saying, last time I went out fasting for 4 days, those vultures, they would come, and I was very excited at first. You know, I thought they were eagles, but they started coming down. Every day they come down lower and lower. And by the fourth day, they came down so low I could look them right in the eye. They were smiling. They were smiling, folks. They were very happy. They knew that there was a free meal coming. And, you know, I think about that, and I think about when I look out here at this audience, you know, I can't give the citation of a passage that I came across, and my mind flashes on it, especially now when I look out, about how they're referring to, I believe is probably a fanatical element of the clergy, how they are like vultures preying on the carrion of the souls of the people. When I look out here and I see all of you, I can't help but think, I have no doubt, I just can't help but think that once you folks out here, like you, those of you here, once you show yourselves, if you simply arise and show yourselves out here in the American populace, it's very easy for those people to distinguish between a vulture and an eagle. It really is. It's very, very simple. And that's what I'm encouraging you all to do, is to show, if they can look out and see what I'm seeing right now, it will be very easy for the generality of the population to distinguish between a vulture and an eagle. And that's why I'd like to use a song at this time in order to kind of establish who we are. You know, it's very important in order to have any type of dialogue for us to have an understanding of who we are. And in order to do that, I'd like to tell you a little story. First of all, it was really wonderful out where I live. We had about 4 years of drought. And finally this year it began to rain. And really what happened, what we did out in our area was that we have a sharp geographical and racial delineation which is marked by the Missouri River. One side, namely the east side, is mostly people of German background, and the west side is almost all Lakota. And finally, about last spring, what we did on our side, on the west side, we went over across the river. We hired some of the polka bands to come over and perform. And I tell you, it really works. You get those Germans out there doing polkas, and it just comes down. It really does. It keeps on coming. And but I want to refer to another. This is another deluge. This is another deluge, and this deluge occurred many, many years ago. And I used to love listening to this story, and I like to tell it as well. And it's a time back when the whole world was covered with water. And at that time, as the waters just came, torrential downpour was descending. And it was a great purification that the Great Spirit was subjecting this creation to in order to renew everything. And He washed everything away with water. And as the deluge was coming down, the individual instances of tragedy were innumerable. And there was one young woman who was very fleet of foot. She was young, I believe 17 or 18 years of age, and she was able to attain to higher ground. And she was able to keep just ahead of the rising floodwaters as she raced up this hill, right up this high point, and the waters were just coming so fast, and everything was being washed away around her. Whole villages going, and everything just going. And she got up to the top of this high point of land. And as she got up to that high point of land, the water overtook her at that time. And she could feel all the earth, everything coming up from underneath her feet. And she began to slip away, carried away by the waters. And she was going down. In her hand, she was reaching up. And then, out of the heavens opened up, and this great eagle came soaring out. A great eagle came soaring out. And he, with his mighty talons, reached down, and he ever so gently grabbed that young baby. And with his mighty wings, he hovered. And then he propelled them aloft, and they went up, they rose up, till they got up over that cloud bank, and they went over, skimming over the top of that cloud bank. till they came to the only remnant of anything connected to terra firma, to this earth, which was the great tree of life, which alone of all terrestrial things withstood the deluge. And they came to roost in the uppermost branches of that great tree of life. And as the story goes, from that eagle, from that woman, there were born twins. And from these twins, the whole world became filled with people again. And I used to love that story. It's beautiful. I could see everything. But then I got to a certain age, and then I thought to myself, that is really a bunch of baloney. That is baloney. I just couldn't believe it. How could they tell us things like this? This is not right. It's not right. And then in the last few years, I began to realize that is a true story. It really is true. And because I began to realize that, yes, because whenever the Lakotas, the Sioux Indians, get together, they always sing songs about eagles because they believe in this very strongly, in this very real, tangible, palpable connection to the eagle. And I began to realize that story is very true, that we are related to the eagle. And we too, like the eagle, are endowed with these two powerful wings. These two powerful wings. We've been talking about the other different types of wings that we utilize with regard to analyzing the social structures of society, the men and women, the science and religion, the disparity of rich and poor. We think about the balance there, but as individuals also we are equipped with these powerful wings. We have a wing of our mind, this beautiful, strong, powerful wing. We have the wing of our heart. And when I look at these kids, I see how so much, the system that they're only enabled in their system, school system, to develop the one wing. And then they're usually are never even allowed to exercise that wing. And these little guys can't soar with one wing. They need to use both of them. They need to use this one here, which is of course what Baha'u'llah has come to reconnect, in order to energize and to empower both of these wings, so that we can use them to lift ourselves in order to soar with our thoughts and our feelings. And so what I'd like to do is to dedicate a song. I said I wanted to use some way, some conveyance to explain or to identify who we are. So I'd like the words of this particular song is the sun is appearing in a beautiful way. It says the whole world is being filled with light and is appearing in a beautiful way. And I was telling the group earlier, I have to always get up about 3:30 if I want to catch a flight out, 3:30 a.m. And it's got about a 120-mile drive to the airport. And I was driving the other morning, and I was coming and I saw the light. And I looked over there and I saw a light, and then I saw another light over here. And then I noticed these two lights are very, very different. Notice the one light, which is the light of the small little city, although it is the capital of North Dakota's Bismarck. I could see it was kind of a sickly looking light. And this other light I could see was very, very beautiful. It was very sacred and very holy. It was just indescribably blessed, just the appearance of it. And it was marked, it was being ushered in by the beautiful morning star which was coming up ahead of it. And I thought to myself, this is what we here have the great privilege. If we look at the opening, the very first line of the tablets of the divine plan. O ye blessed souls, I desire for you eternal success and prosperity, and beg perfect confirmation for each one in the divine world. My hope for you is that each one may shine forth like unto the morning star from the horizon of the world, and in this garden of God become a blessed tree, producing everlasting fruits and results. Each of us get to be that morning star who gets to really lead people to something sacred and holy. So I'd like to greet you all, those of us here, with this song, now that we know who we are. That's the way I'll greet you. All right. Well, you know, time, it really slips by fast. And I just wanted to share with you something really interesting. You know, I know that this Greenlake is such a significant place for the Baha'i, as was indicated earlier, is the site of, is this the largest and longest running Baha'i conference? That's really wonderful. And it's almost like a lot of you, I think almost a lot of you make pilgrimage here, in a way, in a certain way. You know, I was recently, somebody shared this with me. It's a scholarly piece that was done quite a few years ago, and it seems kind of trivial, but I was looking at it, and it's really very interesting. And this area, Greenlake, is the site of 147 major earthworks or mounds, or Indian mounds. This was the Mecca of people. People have been coming here for I don't know how long, thousands of years, no doubt. It's a very, very interesting. It says that there's a place, I guess it's called, it's a Bible Institute. I don't know, this is pretty old. This is written in the 30s, I believe. That might be here. It says there's over 100 mounds within a mile of this Bible Institute. And this Greenlake was considered to be the source of one of the greatest signs of God on earth. And there are over 200 springs which well out of this area. And for especially the Winnebago people, to whom this was the most sacred place, each of these springs has a name that could be identified. And I thought this was really interesting. You know, I was reading this, and I was thinking to myself, you know, we're not the first ones that have come here to attain to this revitalization of spirit. And I was thinking about these mounds, and I know that throughout, a lot of you are from the Midwest here, and most of your homes, in fact, lie upon mounds, and every place you go, there's all these mounds. And I was thinking about that, and I realized that these mounds are what they are burial mounds. And what the people would do is that they would put up the basic staples of life were the corn and squash and beans and different plants. And then whenever the agricultural practice was to mound up the earth and to plant that seed on top of that mountain. And I was thinking about that too, you know, all these mounds represent, it's kind of like talking to us. These people a long time ago are telling us, You know, they would come to these shores because they knew that this was somehow representative of the great grace of God, and that they would commit their souls to eternity along these shores. And they would mound up these earth, and those very precious souls, they would place them in that mound, so that it's like a seed being planted and could grow and thrive, and then bear fruit. Of course, it could never bear fruit at that time, you know, because our people have only been able to dream and envision these things, never to see it fully actualized. Just like whenever I'd go, I used to listen to these old people when they would pray, and it was so beautiful, the things they would ask for, beseeching God for. Then when I saw in the tablet of the divine plan, the prayer for our region, I saw the fulfillment of all those prayers. Oh Lord my God, praise and thanksgiving be unto thee, for thou hast guided me to the highway of the kingdom, suffered me to walk in the straight and far-stretching path, illumined my eye by beholding the splendors of thy light, inclined my ear to the melodies of the birds of holiness from the kingdom of mysteries, and attracted my heart with thy love among the righteous. O Lord, confirm me with the Holy Spirit, so that I may call in thy name amongst the nations, and give the glad tidings of the manifestation of thy kingdom amongst mankind. O Lord, I am weak. Strengthen me with thy power and potency. My tongue falters. Suffer me to utter thy commemoration and praise. I am remote. Honor me to admit me into thy kingdom. O Lord, make me a brilliant lamp, a shining star, and a blessed tree, adorned with fruit, its branches overshadowing all these regions. Verily thou art the mighty, the powerful, and unconstrained. And I heard that. I realized this is the fulfillment of all these different prayers. And I thought to myself, we are the ones that get to achieve this fruition. We look around now, this beautiful time of year. Why? It's kind of interesting that we should be gathered here this time of year, because, you know, at this time of year, everything is coming into maturity. Everything is coming right. It's very beautiful. But, you know, out in this contingent world, out in this natural world here, everything from here is going to go into a state of dormancy, or go into a great sleep. However, in the spiritual world, this is the time that we are at right now. Everything is attaining to maturity. Just like the corn, you know, all the different tribes of this area, like over here in Milwaukee, it's beautiful. They had corn dance over there. This is the first dance that they would do. They would sing those songs, which, by the way, came all the way from South America. We call it Unga Wichalampi, which came from the Inca people. It's even a linguistic relationship. They brought the corn. And they told us, they gave us a teaching. They said the corn is like a human soul. If you plant that in a good place, make sure the sun hits it, water hits it in a good way, it's going to grow, and it reaches the height of a man, and will bear fruit, and that fruit will sustain all and be the sustenance. So the person is like that. The person is like that. If you raise them the right way, they will produce the fruit. And now, this is the time of the maturity of this whole creation. Just like all these people, just like I say, right around here, there's hundreds of these mounds, and these people have been planted there. I can't help but think that they're all right here. Every time I think of this, that I always think about. And what I would like to, I was in this little tabloid here with this little study. First of all, Nicolette, this Frenchman, he said, Nicolette recorded the beauty of this country from that point on the Indian Trail, and he said it surpasses any beauty he had yet seen anywhere. This spot right here. Now, it also says in here that there was a group of Sioux Indians. A group of Sioux Indians, they came in here. I guess they were kind of a little bit overzealous or something, and they were coveting this country of the Winnebagos here, this sacred country, and they wanted to take it from them. You know, the Winnebagos and other people who respect holy places, they always leave something sacred and significant at that spot. As an offering, we call that Wawiuhtata or Waunyampi. It's hard to really translate it into English, but this is the custom that they do. There's a certain blessed spot. They they come and they offer. They can offer something physical. It might be beautiful cloth or beautiful quill work or something that's valuable to them and beautiful. And they'll leave that there as an offering of their thoughts. So it says that these Sioux, they came and they had bad motives. And they didn't make the appropriate offering. It says, the great spirit of the waters made waves and whirlpools and dragged them down to the bottomless place. I was thinking to myself, I don't want to make that same mistake. I don't think any of us want to make that mistake, do we? In other words, this place here, from as long as people have been coming to this place, they have left something here. They have given up something. You know, just like these flutes, we know that it's like a hollow reed to which the pith of self has been blown. In other words, the thing that is really holding us back, are these attachments. The attachment to that kind of that pale, gloomy, dismal-looking light instead of that pure, sacred, holy light. Maybe there's something that we should leave here before we go. Not something tangible or physical, but maybe if you think about it, there's something that will release us so that we can really attain to that maturity of spirit that people have prayed for from time immemorial right here on these shores. Well, that much? Okay, all right. Here we go, folks. We're going to do the short obligatory hoop dance, all right? We were going to do the long obligatory. All right. No, we have a real special program here. I'd like to really introduce this beautiful young lady, and I believe that she is ready. She's ready, right? Yes, she is ready. Are you ready? She is ready. And what we're going to do, this is the way that we have to get started, is that this hoop is a beautiful design. We're supposed to be talking about designs. And we don't really have time to talk about it, but just to demonstrate this for you, the hoop is a beautiful design. You heard Jan was talking about paradigms and designs, and I noticed when she, like at the beginning, when it was like, you know, like about an hour ago, there wasn't that many people there, and I was thinking, oh, we better make a design here, like a hoop. But now I can see that we can't do that because there's so many people here, and we have to use this because I always think that this is kind of this arrangement right here is really holding us back quite a bit. You know, we have all the people there and a couple of people here. This is not very healthy. Of course, it's convenient, but it's not healthy. I hate to say that. But at certain times you have to allow for it, and I think we might have to do that here. I was going to try and make that design of the hoop. But Nick, you'll be able to see that hoop throughout the weekend. It'll be very good to see. But we're going to use these hoops. And Thursa Defoe is 8 years old. She's from Locke here in Wisconsin. And what she's going to do is to do a hoop dance. And she's going to take the stage here. And she's going to go for a while, and then after she goes for a while, I'm going to try and see what I can do here. And the hoop is a very beautiful design because in the hoop, what we do is we tell the story of springtime, and now we see the full maturity of everything. And we make designs to describe. Like with one hoop, you can make the sun, the moon, and all different designs. You'll see that she'll describe the way that the days go follow one another. And then as we, like myself, getting on to a few other designs, we'll make all the other ones, like trees and flowers and birds and butterflies and clouds and mountains and hills and rainbows and animals and Mickey Mouse for you guys and Ninja Turtles for you guys over there and everything. And then we'll make the eagle. You all know what the eagle is. But what we're going to do, Thursday night, we're going to dedicate this dance not to the springtime that we see outside, which is beautiful, but it's not very important compared to the springtime that happens right here. This is the main springtime. You want to find out about that springtime, you have to go to these little guys, because if you look at their drawings in midwinter, they make drawings of spring. You ask them where they see that. It's right in there. We're born with that. We're born with that. This is what Baha'i has come, is to renew that, to cause that to grow, like these beautiful trees that can produce fruit. You see? Okay, so what we're going to do is, Thursday, come over here. We're going to get you started here. She's going to start out here, She's gonna go, and then we're gonna, and then when you see these different, let's have a big round of applause for her. All right. You ready? Okay, you can let it go there. Green, 8 years old, from Locke, Oklahoma. The proud parents are here. Raise your hand, brother. Proud to see you. Oh, there they are. All right. All right. Very good. Thank you. Oh, that felt so good. I'm really glad, I'm glad I got a chance to do that, because after this morning, I was thinking, my gosh, it's not every day that you have a chance to go out and do something, to really act in this world. It's a sad thing that a person has to go through something like that before they can come to that realization. Hopefully, many of you, if not all of you, will be able to do something without having a harrowing experience in which you feel joy in being able to see this. That's what the hoop dance is about. It's a dance of transformation. It's a dance of change, a dance of growth. And that hoop, it goes on. The circle stays unbroken. Now it's up to us to renew that and to make that hoop transcend. The vision of our elders is this, that there's a man named Crazy Horse. He had a vision in which he was on a high hill. And he prayed and he fasted. And he was able to rise up, and the whole world opened up before him. He could look out over the whole creation he saw. All over the creation, there's many different kinds of people. Different hoops of people. Black, red, yellow, white. And he saw them so beautiful, they were just gleaming, and just like beautiful treasure chests. Resplendent, just like diamonds, radiating to high heaven. All the gifts and treasures that stood unveiled before him. But then he saw a great specter, a tempest sweep over all of creation. It blotted out the light, and the people were disconnected from that source of growth and life. And they began to turn, and they began to be filled with hate, and jealousy, and envy. And they lashed out at each other in hatred, and in vindictiveness, and all this thing. And they began to fight and quarrel. And he could hear the screams of agony and misery as he saw all human problems begin to wax greater. He saw the dust begin to broil up. And he saw the thickening clouds of darkness become ever denser and denser. He saw the blood flowing out upon the earth, and heads rolling, arms, severed arms and bodies all over. And he could hear all the women and children screaming, crying, wailing, and gnashing their teeth. And finally there was no light left in the world. And he began to cry. And as he was crying, he was praying, he thought about that great eagle and the great tree of life, and how all people were so noble, beautiful. All these different groups of people were at one time beneath that tree. And how they promised that sometime they would come back together. And as he could remember that, he began to pray that way. And as he began to pray that way, and with his eyes closed, he heard the most sweet sound. He heard the harbinger of dawn, we call him Tashiach, or the meadowlark, sing his sweet melody. And he wiped the tears and he looked out to the east, and he saw at that moment the sun come up over the horizon, shot a light out over the earth. And where that light hit, although it covered the world, only a few stood up and looked and recognized that light. And as soon as they recognized that light, they began to try and shake that dust off. And they began to try and look at that light and see what it was. And when they did that, they could look over and they could see that there was other people who had also seen that light. And they began to recognize each other, and they began to work together. And they began to make a beautiful new design. And that beautiful new design that they made was one hoop out of many hoops. And he was very happy because he saw the great success and the great joy throughout all the kingdoms of eternity. Because he saw that design would be placed down on this earth. And he saw that this earth here, this beautiful island, we call this North America, we call this, like in our language, Makawita, this gem, this beautiful earth island. And he saw that this beautiful island would be richly blessed because its design would be first established here. And it was beautiful beyond description. And when he looked at it, he was very, very happy. Because when he looked at that design, he could see that his own great-great-grandchildren, they had a place in there. He could see that. He was real happy when he saw that. And You know, and I like to use this in the Old Testament, in the 23rd Psalm of David. It's 3,000 years ago, but I like to share it. It's very appropriate. Can you hear me way in the back? This is 23rd Psalm of David. David, it's not for us today. The great Father above is the shepherd chief. I am his, and with him I have not want. He throws out to me a rope, and the name of the rope is love. He draws me, and he draws me, and he draws me to a place where the grass is green, and the water good. I eat and lay down, satisfied. Sometimes it may be soon, maybe longer, maybe a long, long time, but the shepherd chief will lead me to a place between mountains. It is dark there, but I will be afraid not. I will draw back not, for it is there, this place between mountains, and I will meet him. Sometimes the shepherd chief makes this love into a whip, but afterwards he gives me a staff to lean upon. He puts his hands upon my head. All the tired is gone. He spreads before me a table, many good things to eat. My cup, he fills until it runs over. What I tell you is true. I lie not, for these roads lead to a great lodge where dwells the shepherd chief. And after I die, I will be with him forever and ever. Think, my friends, is not this the day that they could only dream of God? Is not this the day when we have all these blessings before us? When we have to hearken to the house of justice, may say, urgency. This design requires everybody to be a part in there. If for any reason we don't contribute, or God forbid we're withheld from making that contribution, the result can be very bad. So I'd like to thank you all, the committee, for giving me a little extra time. Let's hear it for them. God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
It was a very special day where our non-Baha'i Indian guests were invited. Kevin was speaking, Phil Lucas, Nick Hawkins, I believe Dallas Chief Eagle was there. It was a wonderful afternoon for the friends there. We've invited Phil Lucas to come up for about 15 minutes and try and summarize as best he could what occurred in that forum this afternoon so that you might have a sense of that part of the program as well. Phil is also an American Indian Choctaw from Washington. Many of you have known him over the years. He's a filmmaker, been a Baha'i over 25 years. Would you welcome Phil Lucas, please?
Yeah, that's how you follow Kevin, is you break the stand here. How do you follow Kevin Locke? I guess the only way I can follow it is with a Kevin Locke joke. It's a joke that goes like this. You know, when I was coming in, this lady stopped me and asked me if I was really an Indian, and I said yes, and she said, "Oh," she said, "I knew you were. I could tell by your cheekbones." It's really an honor to be asked to be part of this great gathering, and it's really quite overwhelming. I was not expecting to be speaking tonight, and so I dressed for the occasion. So I just wanted to bring you greetings from my family and from my people, and to extend to you their love and mine, and talk a little bit about what we did today, some of the things that were said, and I can probably only speak to the things that I talked about. Earlier this evening, I was reflecting on how incredible this is that we as Native people are being honored in this way at this time. And what a true blessing it is for us to be part of this gathering and to be part of this family called the Baha'i Faith. And to begin to realize that we are seeing some very, very significant things taking place, history being made in a very real way. I've been a Baha'i for 26 years, and in those 26 years, I've watched the progression of how we come together. And there was a time when this couldn't have happened, what we saw here tonight. Couldn't have happened, even in the Baha'i Faith, couldn't have happened. What we witnessed tonight. It was a time when people were saying, I'm a Baha'i, and I don't care about what my background is, or what, you know, it doesn't matter that I'm this or I'm that, but I'm a Baha'i. And it was because we didn't understand what Baha'u'llah talked about, that we must preserve our cultures. We didn't understand that. We get confused with the American myth. The American myth that says the great melting pot, that everyone becomes same. That isn't what I believe was intended, was that we must all function to the nth degree of our individuality and truly become what it is that we're destined to be as individuals. You know, it's kind of like the body, you know. If every atom in your body is unique, every atom in the universe is unique. No two alike. No two anything alike. And it would be like if the lung all of a sudden decides that it wants to be like the heart. You have a sick body when that happens. It's only when the lung functions at the nth degree of its individuality as a lung, and the heart functions to the nth degree of its individuality as a heart, that the body becomes whole, and the body begins to function, and you're healthy. And each and every one of us have great, wonderful ancestry. Each and every one of us in this room are tribal people, sometime, somewhere back. We've forgotten that. But each and every one of us have a heritage that we should all be very proud of. And we have many good things in our cultures that we have to come together to share. Now, we were told, you know, one of our teachings a long time ago was that there were 4 couples, a black couple, a red couple, a white couple, and a yellow couple who were created. And they were all brought together by the Creator. And He gave them each a special gift. And they were to go their separate ways and develop these gifts that they were given individually. And they were to come back together in a time in the future. And when they came back together, they were to share these gifts, and they would create a new world when they shared these gifts. And you know, to the white couple was given the gift of fire. And when you think about it, look around on all of the things that have been created and invented deal with fire, like the electric light, like the combustion engine, like all of these things are really the manifestations of the fire. Interestingly enough, the black couple was given the gift of water. And I think it's ironic that the water of life that was created, plasma for instance, was discovered by a black man. To the yellow couple was given the gift of air. And we know that they've developed this gift of breath, of breathing, meditation, all of these things. They've developed it to a very high art, to a very high standard. To the red couple was given the gift of the earth, to protect the earth, to be keepers of the earth. And that's a gift that we have, that we now must all share. You know, we've gone beyond the stage where we can say, ha ha, your end of the boat is sinking. We're all in the same boat together. This boat, planet Earth. And I did a film on the Alkali Lake Indian people called The Honor of All. I don't know who all has seen it or not, but I bring it up only because I think that the most exciting aspect of this film, it's about the Alkali Lake Indian band, the Shuswap people in British Columbia, who went from being 100% alcoholic, men, women, and children, to being 95% sober in 14 years' time. And how this began, it began with a 7-year-old girl, a 7-year-old child, who said enough is enough. When her parents came to pick her up at her grandmother's house, they were drunk and had been drinking, and she said, I'm not coming back home with you, and I will never come back home until you quit drinking. 7-year-old girl, and it blew her parents away. She said, I hate you, and I hate you for what you're doing. And she stood firm. The mother, Phyllis Chelsea, quit drinking. A week later, Andy, her husband, quit drinking. And for 2 years, those were the only 2 sober people on that reserve. And they withstood everything. I mean, their children were beaten up at school. They were threatened. They were cajoled. Anything to try to get them to drink again. All these things happened. There was an AA counselor, drug counselor from Williams Lake who had spent a great deal of time coming into the community trying to get an AA group started there. Whenever he went, the people would disappear. Nobody would answer the doors. He was never invited in anywhere. But he went to go to the health office and show films, but he would be the only one there that would see the films. This had been going on for years. Phyllis invited him in, and they started an AA group with the 3 of them, Phyllis and Andy and brother Ed Lynch. And they transformed this area. When I went up there to do pre-production for the film, I took my 10-year-old, my son was 10 at the time. He's going to be 15 on Sunday. As we came down over the hill to come into the valley where the Alkali Lake community is, he said, and he didn't really know much about what we were doing. We were going to go make a film, he knew that, and it was about the Alkali people, but he didn't really know or understand what we were doing. But all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, Dad, he said, these people are really different, aren't they? I looked at him and I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, they're very special here. And I said, yeah, they are. Well, he says, I feel it. And you know, it's true. It changed the atmosphere of that entire area. And you can't go there and not be affected by it. And this is the power that we all have. When we exemplify, when we internalize the teachings of Baha'u'llah, and when we walk the road, and when we walk our talk, you know, it's one thing to say we're Baha'is, but when we walk our talk, and we walk our talk 100% of the time, then we become that magnet that attracts hearts. Not this, hearts. That special place that Baha'u'llah has reserved for himself only. This thing. We attract the hearts. And it's the power of what one person can do. And that's what I love about this film. It's what one person did. It started with one person. Not a committee, not a group, not 100,000 people. They didn't have government grants. They didn't have anything. They had no money and no help. Just one person who said, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to do it. And they did it. And they transformed this whole region. And their entire nation was transformed. And that's the power that's available. We have the whole concourse on high. The concourse on high, made up of every holy soul that has ever lived on this planet, who would have given up their, according to the writings, would have given up their place of honor at the holy throne of God, to have been able to spend one moment in the day in which we're living today, to spend one moment in the day in which we're living today. They would have given up everything to be where we are today. And they're anxious to help us. And we're told that in the writings. You know, when I go into the sweat lodge, that's what we do. We call the concourse on high. And we say, help us. Because they're anxious to help us, and they will help us. There is that connection that we have. And one person, each and every one of us, have the power to transform this earth. And I'm not just making that up. Baha'u'llah said that. Abdul-Baha said, if we could find one soul who is truly on fire with the faith, it would spread like wildfire. Which one of us will it be? We all have that potential. And we also all have the obligation. And I didn't talk about what we said today, but I love you.